Your mindset is the root of your reality. If you can change your mindset, then you can change your life. Welcome, Master Your Vibe. Mind bright, vibe right. The mindset reboot for those ready for some calibration to their vibration. I'm your host, King Yes Indeed, your guide for this vibrational journey, here to help you conquer any mental blocks, fine-tune your inner frequency, and navigate to your higher self. If you're ready to make your mind bright so you can vibe right, then you're in the right place. Let the journey begin. Yes, indeed. Welcome back, everyone, to Master Your Mindset, the 7 dimensions of mindset. And if you're a first-time listener, welcome. For those of you that are returning, welcome back. We got an excellent show topic for you today, and what we are going to be talking about today is outgrowing your old self and growing into your new self. What does it mean when you outgrow something? All right. Outgrowing things is one of the most normal experiences in life as it relates to certain things. But there are some things that every person can struggle with when it comes to outgrowing. When we talk about outgrowing something, we tend to think first about outgrowing clothes, right? Now at my age, I'm not growing upward, right? If I outgrow something, I'm be growing sideways, right? I'm gonna be getting wide, right? But even that, it can be a good thing, right? If you're a bodybuilder, you are into a sport that needs you to gain a little size, a little girth, a little weight, a little meat. Most commonly, you think, it start off when you're still at a younger age, or at least you can remember back when you were still growing in the vertical in direction, right? We typically measure it over summers, right? Because that's when it's most noticed, right? Like when you outgrow, when you're growing. Now, as it pertains to clothes may not be torn or worn out. They may still have been in style. It might have even been, something that you considered to be your favorite thing, right? Remember those old two-tone jeans. You remember the stone-washed jumpsuit. You remember the airbrush T-shirts. My cousin Bub hit us with the sequence visor hats. All of the shoes that you match match all of your outfits. There may have been absolutely nothing wrong with any of these items, but the fact of the matter is, you outgrew them, and they no longer fit you anymore. Now, you don't have to get rid of them. You can still try to wear them if you want to, but what's the result of that, right? Have you ever tried to walk around in shoes that are half a size too small or a whole size too small? Right? As old as some of us are now, just thinking about, shoes that don't fit, make your feet and your toes start aching. Have you ever tried to sit down or walk around in some jeans that was a few inches too small, right, or a few inches too short? Right, brothers, I know we ain't doing that, right? Your voice gonna be up a couple octaves. Ladies, you got the jeans that you got to, jump up and down in and do calisthenics and take deep breath to get yourself into, and then you're gonna be in trouble when you got to use the restroom, right? We can't breathe properly in these things, right? Some of the shirts, we might not even be able to get the shirt over our head and past our shoulders, right? Ladies, I know you're not trying to mess up your hair, trying to squeeze into a shirt that you can't fit. The struggle trying to fit into clothes that are too small, right? That are no longer our size. They cause us all these issues. That is real. Right. So when it comes to other aspects of our lives, why do we not consider the struggles? Why do we not consider difficulty breathing? Why do we not consider the aches and pains that we have? Why do we not consider messing up some things, right? If you are still trying to squeeze certain places and certain people and certain things into your lives that no longer fit, what pain are you dealing with, right? How freely are you able to move and be yourself? How badly are you being suffocated, right? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Some of the things, that we outgrow. And one of the things that's pressing me that I'm outgrowing is I'm outgrowing work. There's one thing that I feel like it's been a little too small for me lately, right? 3 episodes ago, I talked about being aligned and how you spend your time. And what I talked about was I really want to start making money according to my purpose and not my profession, right? Having a job is a blessing. I'm grateful, however, I have a very clear understanding, at least I believe, of what I am designed to do. I believe that I know my purpose, and it's not to go clock in at 6:30 and leave at 3, 5 days a week, doing what somebody else is telling me to do. That's not it. Right. And so if that's you, how did I know I'm there? How will you know when you are where I am? Right. Especially as it relates to work. Right. When your work consumes more hours than what you are being paid for, your work might be too small for you. Right. When you have a daily debate first thing in the morning, as soon as your alarm clock is going off before you roll out of bed, if you have a daily debate about whether or not you even want to go to work or are going to go to work, it might be too small for you, right? And I'm not talking about a little just a quick meaningless debate. I mean, it's serious. It's a back and forth. You arguing with yourself between the 10-minute window of your snooze button on your phone alarm, right? It's in the middle of winter. It's Monday. You just had the shortest weekend you can remember, right? That kind of debate. Like, what do you, what's the struggle like trying to get out of bed on that day when you might be outgrowing work when people begin to talk to you a certain way, right? Not like a person, but they talk to you like, your personal property to be given orders like you're a waiter or a waitress. Right, they just telling you what to do with no regard for candor or manners or anything like that. And then finally, when you see that no matter how much you care, when you see that no matter how much you try or how much you truly try to impact change, those who sit in higher places and make decisions off of spreadsheets, when they're making decisions, to make your life exponentially harder at work unnecessarily. Yeah, just for a spreadsheet to look good, it might be time to go. I understand that there needs to be a leadership and a ranking structure. But if somebody is sitting in an office 3 leagues up and they're making decisions and have no idea what we're doing, on ground zero, that's something that's bothersome to me. And so, I got some decisions, and maybe you have some decisions to make about how tight is that outfit of work fitting you, and what is it that you really want to do. Now, with all these things being said, please do not leave a job or do something drastic to impact your ability to take care of yourself or your family. I'm not advocating for that. If you still got bills, stay at work. If you still got people that you owe, stay at work. If work is sustaining you and taking care of you and your family and your priorities, stay at work. However, I will also say when you keep growing and things no longer fit, their intended purpose will no longer be served. Right? If you're growing out of work and work no longer fits you, you're going to stop being productive. Shoes will no longer protect your feet. Right? The clothes won't keep you covered or warm. Clothes won't keep you out of the elements. Right? At work, if you continue to outgrow a place that no longer fits you, the only thing that will remain there is your body. Your mind is not going to be there, and even your body is temporary. Right? When stress sets in, when your sanity starts checking out and you're still checked in, when your peace of mind is running away like Usain Bolt at the Olympics, we all know what quickly follows after that, right? Your health will be impacted. And that's if it hasn't been impacted already, right? A lot of us are not aware that we are even carrying stress and trying to deal with work because it's such a normal thing because we've been working for so long. But take inventory, right? If you feel any kind of way, like I just talked about, you might be outgrowing work. Another thing that we might outgrow is you might outgrow your old self. You might outgrow your old self. Now, people, I'm 49, and I really figured out my life around about age 38, so about 10 years ago. Uh, but before that, I was not able to outgrow some of the things in my life that kept me broke, some of the things that kept me single, some of the things that kept me in debt, some of the things that kept me uneducated, unhealthy, right? And that kept me unable to build anything significant, right? And so again, we're going to talk about let's talk about some of the things that might be keeping you stuck, some of the things that might be keeping you in a place where you are, unhealthy and you're in debt and uneducated, right? The survival version of you may still be present. Are you one who only prepares for the worst case scenario and then sets up a whole fortress to defend it, right? Having a defensive stance is great when it's necessary. But remember, if you're only playing defense, your offense doesn't get any practice, right? If you're only coaching up the defense, the offense is sitting on the sideline like, when we going to get in the game? We don't know the plays. That sort of thing. There is no exploration, right? There is no discovery of something new. There is no additional building of anything, because you're solely playing defense. Think about this. Barriers do keep people locked outside, but those same barriers also keep you locked inside, so you can't do anything. All right, so let's keep that in mind when we dealing with the survival version of ourselves. Let's get out of our defense and start thinking about what our offense looks like. Right? The victim version of you is still present. All right, this is where everything that happens to you is not always in your control, but that doesn't mean it's always someone else's fault. And that's what the victim version is, where everything that happens to you is because of somebody else, right? The circumstance you deal with could be from a series of poor decisions, right? How good was your decision making, younger in life, or even now? The situation that you're in could be because of a lack of emotional intelligence, right? How many of us can't control our anger or our mouth or even our physical reaction, right? How we look, how we respond to people, right? The issues you are having could be because of a habit of procrastinating, right? Maybe you are hesitating. Maybe you put off things always till tomorrow, always till next week, and you never take the initiative to do things that you know you should do right now. Right? The problems that you have could be because of a lack of discipline, and maybe you ignore wisdom. Right? I know that many people have, especially when they get older, they'll say, man, this person was speaking into my life. This person was telling me this. This person was giving me advice. And you just chose to ignore it because you decided that you would rather do it your way because you thought that you knew better. Right? We're just having a conversation with our kids about, you do A, B, and C, and I got a system, and I got this, and then I know what I'm doing. Okay. But then when it don't work out, who they come running back to, right? You are not always able to control what happens to you, but you may be able to control what happens next for you. And again, you can't always control what happens to you, but you just might be able to have more control over what happens next for you. The egotistical version of you is still present. acting as if things are no big deal. When you truly are hurt and you truly feel some type of way, of how many of you are out there where either you or you know someone, they have the I'm all right person. You have the it don't matter person. You have the I don't care anyway person. And then you also have the it's cool whatever person. Right? Learning to express what we truly feel can help us grow into a version of ourselves that can be vulnerable and honest at all times. Right? Pretending to feel nothing is simply just a mask that only hides who you truly are. Right? And we gotta understand that telling somebody that you're all right when you're not only hurts you. Telling somebody it doesn't matter when it does only hurts you. I tell people all the time, you can lie to me, but you can't lie to yourself. You know you hurting. You know it matters. You know you care. You know it's not cool. So why are you gonna try and tell me that when I and most people around you, especially those that know you, can clearly see that what you just said is obviously not true. Feeling like you have to be right all the time. How many people do you know like this? Now, I know there's probably a lot of you that won't admit it, right? These might be some of the lines that you hear, from some of these people, right? I knew that. I just wanted to see if you knew. Yeah, that's somebody who always want to be right. I been knew about that a long time ago. Sure you did. Or are you just saying that because you didn't want to appear less knowledgeable or incorrect? Oh, and then, yeah, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, all of those people, all those just want to be right people. I understand that inherently we desire to be correct about, what we talk about and some of the conversations that we engage in and some of the things that we say. However, if you are not able to reconcile your ignorance in a healthy way that promotes and fosters learning for you, life will be challenging in many ways that can keep you in a space that doesn't allow you to grow properly. Right? It's going to keep you ignorant. It's going to keep you small. It's going to keep you uneducated. Outgrowing relationships. This is one of the next things. So we talked about outgrowing yourself. Now maybe we got to outgrow some relationships, right? This is probably the most difficult area of life where where outgrowing can sometimes be traumatic almost, right? But let's realize that it doesn't have to be, right? We may just need to reframe our perspective on how we look at the why behind, why we outgrow some of these relationships, right? Honestly, not everyone is meant to grow with you forever. Right, we all know the old adage, right? A reason, a season, a lifetime, right? Most people are in your life for a reason, for a season, for a lifetime. I might tweak that just a little bit and say that most people are in your life for a few reasons or a few seasons, and depending on what you believe, maybe even a few lifetimes. Right, I tweak it just a little bit just to say that, right? The most important thing we need to remember about any of these relationships is that just because we outgrow it doesn't mean it wasn't important. It doesn't mean it was meaningless. It doesn't mean that it was tragic, right? It may have scarred you deeply, right? That could have been a lesson of what you should never do to anyone you love, right? If somebody hurt you, somebody cheated on you, somebody left you, somebody abused you, that could be a lesson of these are things that you will never do to anyone else that you care about or anyone else you love, or these were things that you will never allow to happen to anyone that you love or care about. It could be that the relationship may not have turned out how you liked it, right? But that could be a lesson to put more effort or build a better foundation at your starting point. Right? If the relationship, whether it's intimate, whether it's a working relationship, whether it's a business relationship, Maybe you learned something throughout the course of that relationship where you could have done something better. You could have set standards up front. You could have done things in the beginning to build a better foundation so that when you started putting structures on that foundation, it was able to hold. Maybe that's a lesson that you could take away. The relationship might not have lasted as long as you like, right? That might be a lesson to be more present and enjoy the time that you are allowed to have with people, right? It could have been somebody whom you felt was the one, right? It could have been somebody passing away. It could have been somebody just abruptly leaving. It could have been somebody that put everything to you and you weren't reciprocating. Whatever it is, we have to look deep into that and try to find the lesson, to be more present. Or if it was just meant to be for that short time, enjoy the time, take away the memories that you have with everyone. So maybe your approach to the relationship is different. Sometimes the best way to honor relationships that ended is to master the lessons that were derived from their existence anyway. Every relationship that you have, good, bad, long, short, hurtful, loving, pleasant, traumatic, whatever it is, sometimes the best way to honor the ending of the relationship is to master the lessons that came out of the relationship's existence. We got to ask ourselves too, is the relationship a good environment for you? Yes, relationships are environments, right? Are you safe in your relationship? This might seem obvious, but it's not always about physical safety, right? Are you financially safe? Are you emotionally safe? Mentally, right? All of those things are just as important, right? So you got to be safe in your relationship. You got to ask yourself, in your relationship, are you supported or are you tolerated? Now I could just stop right there and just kind of let that sink in for a little bit. Are you supported or are you tolerated? I can stop right there, right? Are you being helped out of love? Or are you being helped out of obligation? Right? Maybe businesses you need to be helped out of obligation. Children, yeah, we got to help them out of obligation. Are you in the right place? Are you being helped? Are you being helped because you're supposed to be helped? Are you being supported because you are supposed to be supported? Or are you just simply being tolerated because you're there? At work, do they support your growth, your values, your vision? Do they support your goals? Or are you simply just a paycheck that needs to be signed off on? Right? Are you just a transactional employee that must be accounted for? Is that the work relationship that you have? Are you being kept around because someone feels sorry for you, or do people stay with you because they, or do you stay because you feel sorry for people? Are you still in a relationship because someone can't be honest with you, or because you can't be honest with someone? Right? If you're over that person, if you no longer care about that person, if that person has done something and you now no longer want to be with them, but you remain, is it because you simply can't be honest? Or vice versa? Are they remaining with you because they no longer want to be with you, but maybe you're still giving something and they can't be honest about how they feel? Could be that too. We talk about is our relationships a good environment, right? But the current version of you might not be the version of you that others want to be around. I'll give you an example, right? Like the version of you that always answers when they call. If you stop answering, then they don't want to be around you anymore, right? Maybe they like the version of you that never questions their motives or thoughts of you. But now all of a sudden, when they say something sideways and now you have a rebuttal or a question, maybe they don't want to be around you no more. Right? Maybe they like the version of you that was easily manipulated. And now you've educated yourself, and now you've gotten a little bit of knowledge and wisdom, and you can't be manipulated. And so, you're not their cup of tea anymore. And they like the version of you that validated them while invalidating yourself. Right? You lifting them up, and they going to a higher height. but at the same time, dropping yourself down and lowering yourself down while they remain on the pedestal. But when you looked at yourself and understood your worth and started to understand that you were just as valuable or just as important, that don't work in their world. So now you gotta go. And finally, they like the version of you that's down so that it keeps them up on a pedestal is what I just talked about. They like the lowly version of you. They like the subdued version of you. Right? They like the suppressed version of you so that they can continue to be elevated above you. And they'll let you know about it too in some kind of way, shape, or form. If they aren't just verbally saying it, they're going to show you. They're going to talk. They're going to maybe talk to other people about you. It's in the way that they treat you. It's in the things that they do or don't do for you. They're going to let you know that they are up on a pedestal and you do not belong up there with them. All right. And when you begin to move away from the version of yourself that others don't align with, then the new version of you no longer supports their narrative. So you guys drift apart. And that's probably the best thing that can happen for you. So now that we've covered all that, we got all this information. What do we do with that? What do you do with that? How do you become better? You know, what are some of the benefits of outgrowing these things, of outgrowing these places, and even outgrowing some of the people that we've encountered, right? Number one, outgrowing something can show growth. It can help you recognize new things about yourself. Right? When you grow, there are new requirements that are needed, and these can look like boundaries, right? New requirements almost inevitably require change, right? They require you to change, and when you change, you display a new level of discipline so that you don't return to the old version of you, right? New requirements, you change, and now you have a whole new set of discipline. You don't allow people to talk to you a certain way. You don't go. You know, one of the reasons why you may outgrow the club life is because you now have certain responsibilities that require you to be at home during the hours that the club is open, right? Maybe you got children, maybe you got a spouse, maybe you got a different job that demands that you be up early in the morning, so you got to get rest. Maybe you have some health concerns. I don't know what they are, but these things have almost forced you to change because they demand your attention. They demand your discipline. They require something of you, and now you are displaying that new level of discipline by taking care of your responsibilities. That's growing into something, where you can recognize different things about yourself that you may not have known you were capable of. Right? It could be why you don't do any number of things, right? It could be why you don't smoke. It could be why you don't drink. It could be why you don't listen to certain types of music if you've changed your music. It could be why you no longer let your emotions or your anger or your frustration get the best of you. It could be why you no longer allow certain people to borrow money from you or be around you or into your house. It could be any number of these things, but growing out of some of those things, it allows you to recognize other things about yourself because those things basically kept you blinded, right? And so now that your eyes are open, now you've changed some things. Now you've got some new discipline, right? And that's the growth that we want, right? Growing out of some things can actually create new opportunities and new possibilities for you, right? Sometimes just staying quiet can create all the opportunities you need. Literally, like sometimes it's not running your mouth can create opportunities. My mom used to tell me that an empty barrel makes the most noise. Right? Sometimes talking too much can reveal more than you want to reveal to people. Sometimes it's deemed intelligent to just remain quiet and only talk when necessary. Right? Only give information that people ask for. Only give information that's required. A lot of the people, I understand they're conversational and they like to talk, but sometimes people talk just to hear themselves talk, and Now they sound dumb, now they sound uneducated, or now they've given something away about themselves that somebody doesn't like. And now that door is slammed shut, or it's slowly closing, or the opportunity is pulled off the table, or the offer is not extended. All right. So sometimes we just gotta be quiet. All right. Growing out of something can create a new vision of yourself, right? When you stop thinking of yourself as a victim, you can start thinking proactively about what you want to build. Right? You think about your purpose and not your problems. You think about ideas and not necessarily your issues, right? When you stop living with the victim mentality, you can then put on a victorious mentality. And when you stop living with the victim mentality, you can now put on a victorious mentality. Winners don't complain. They just learn to conquer, point blank, and period. Growing out of something raises your standards. And it's just for you and for everyone around you. How many times have you heard people say that their last relationship helped mold them into the person that handles relationships much differently? Whether it was the person who didn't do you right, right? Maybe somebody did you wrong. You learned what you will tolerate, and you learned what you won't tolerate, and there's no compromise, right? How many times did you hear people say the last failed relationship that they had, it allowed them to connect on a deeper level with the current person that they are with, right? Somebody acting like, they ain't got no home training, right? They out there being arrogant, being disrespectful, and being self-righteous. When they realized that they lost a gift, right? There was no amount of apologizing that could bring it back. There was no amount of crying they could do for the person to come back. There was no amount of regret, that they could have, or it was destroyed. They couldn't get back what they destroyed, and now you cherish every moment with those special people, right? You treat people differently, and you act like you don't want to lose them, right? Because you've lost that special thing before, right? How many of you have experienced that? How many times have you heard people tell you stories about what they allowed themselves to endure, only to be left with shattered pieces of memories, like they weren't even real, right? Only to be left with a relationship built on lies, and a life that not even Stephen King could write a horror movie about. You saw the clues. You felt in the depths of your soul and told yourself to ignore the alerts. All the tools that God gave you, you told yourself to ignore it. But after that new relationship, these sensors are now operating on a level like you got a lane assist, right? You stray off a little bit and that thing beeping. Nope, you gotta come back over this way. You go out the other way. Nope, you gotta come back this way, right? These are your standards being raised to another level that were not there before. All right, this is you not allowing people to take your generous heart. Right, this is you not allowing anyone else to determine your worth. I'm not aware of any store where you can go in and determine the price of the goods as you see fit. Right, Walmart ain't having that. Right, if the price is $10, then you pay $10. Right, you can leave. If you want to pay $10, and you can go shop somewhere else. Do not let people walk into the storefront of your life when they clearly should only be window shopping. Right? I'm going to say that one more time. Do not let people walk into the storefront of your life when they clearly should only be window shopping. Right? They should be only watching you grow. They should be only watching you succeed. They should be only watching you evolve. Right? They should be watching you go through a metaphoric change where you have outgrown crawling and walking on the ground. And now you have emerged from your cocoon that's too small to fly higher than you ever have before. Yes, indeed. So let's grow out of these things, and let's grow into the highest version of ourselves. Kings, we've been rocking along just like always. And so what I'm going to do before we get to the final thought of today, we're going to leave you with some reflection prompts and some affirmations. All right, so let's jump right on in. Reflection prompt number one. What new standard is emerging in me that I can no longer ignore? We're talking about standards, right? What standards are coming out? What standards are coming up? What standards are being challenged that you can no longer afford to ignore? What new standard is emerging in me that I can no longer ignore? And put it on display, right? Put that standard into practice. Reflection prompt number two. Where in my life am I still living an old chapter simply because I already know the lines? This is like people have that script, the favorite movie that they like to watch, the favorite song that they like to listen to. Uh, this is going to cover that comfort zone, right? Where in my life am I still living in an old chapter simply because I already know the lines? I already know what's going to happen. I already know what to expect. I already know what it's going to be. Sometimes that's good, but this doesn't allow you any room to grow. Reflection prompt number three. There's no caller ID or voicemail when the universe is calling. If you don't answer the first time, you may not get a call back. Yes, indeed. Let me tell you something. Sometimes if you miss your calling, it's gone. Sometimes if you don't answer the door, you're never going to receive that package. Sometimes people are only going to give you one chance. And if you don't take advantage of it, somebody's going to be waiting in the wings to take your opportunity, to take your spot, to take your woman, to take your kids, to take your money, to take your car, to take your job. They going to be waiting. And if you don't answer, that call ain't never coming again. There is no caller ID or voicemail when the universe is calling. If you don't answer the first call, you ain't getting no call back. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Kings, let's get into some affirmations. Affirmation number one. The unknown is not emptiness. It is possibility without form. Those things are different. It is not empty. It is possibility that you just not have made sense of. It is a possibility that you have not created anything or done anything with. The opportunity can be there, but there's still some work on our part that we need to do to mold it, to shape it, to bring it into fruition, and to realize that thing. We got to build it. We got to cultivate it. The unknown is not emptiness. It is simply possibility without form yet. So let's get it there. Affirmation number two. I trust that what is moving away is making room for what is meant to stay. All the things leaving out of your life, all the things that you are growing out of, all the things that you are moving away from, all the things that are moving away from you, consider it room for what is meant to be there. Consider it room for what is meant to grow there. Consider it room for an opportunity that is meant to be there. Trust and believe that what is moving and going away is making room for what is meant to stay. Affirmation number three. I am not being punished by change. I'm only being polished by my courage. See, change, sometimes we talk about people not wanting to change because they're afraid. And it takes courage to face your fears. And when you do that, you become seasoned. You become polished. Right? You become more skilled. Right? You become a seasoned vet, as they say. Right? As you go through these things, it's not a punishment. Change is not punishing you because something different is not a sentence. Right? It is simply polishing you and shaping you and molding you and building you based on the amount of courage that it took for you to face that change. Yes, indeed. And finally, affirmation number four. I hit you with four today. I really like these ones, so I couldn't choose, so I picked the fourth one. I endured the version of me that was a caterpillar. I will now honor the version of me that is a butterfly. Man, man, understand, both are necessary. Both have their purposes. Both are meaningful. One is not better or worse than the other. They just live in two different places. They operate two different ways. They occupy two different locations. Understand that this is not a bad thing. You endured the version of you. I endured the version of me that was a caterpillar. So go ahead and honor the version of you that is now a butterfly. Take off, fly, reach the things that you couldn't get to when you were a caterpillar. Or at least you sure couldn't get there quicker than you could. All right, you even look different, feel different. People look at you different. People treat you different, right? The version of you that endured, the version of you that struggled, the version of you um, that took the brunt, took the hits, took the heat, and came out on top. You went through a metamorphic change and you became a butterfly. And now people look at you, treat you different, offer you different things. How many of you out there have experienced that? They thought you were a butterfly, and when you came, they thought you were a caterpillar. And when they saw you change into a butterfly, here come the opportunities. Here comes the money. Here comes the love. Here comes the royal treatment. Right? Here comes the respect. Here comes all of the things that you knew you desired and that you knew you deserved. But it was only when you were able to change and grow out of some things that they were able to see it, because you now can see it in yourself. Kings, my final thought for today is this. As we close today, it's important to recognize that growth is not something that happens all at once. It happens slowly and gradually. It happens through experience. It happens through living life. It happens through reflection. It happens through introspection. And it happens through all of the choices that we make over time. Right? And one of the clearest signs of growth is realizing that certain things in your life no longer fit who you are or who you want to be. Right? Outgrowing things, it does not mean that it's wrong. It does not mean that you're a bad person. It does not mean that you didn't do something right. Often it means that that thing has served its purpose and its season has come to an end. And that's it. Some habits helped us cope, right? Some relationships supported us when we needed stability or when we needed money or when we needed guidance. Some places gave us shelter and gave us protection, gave us a place to stay. It gave us all these things during a time where we were still learning how to navigate life. But as we grew up and as we developed and as we learned some things, our needs change, our awareness changes. And so our standards change and they elevate. Right? Outgrowing something is not a negative thing. It is a natural thing. I'm going to say that again. Outgrowing is not a negative thing. It is a natural thing. It takes maturity to acknowledge when something is no longer needed. It takes courage to step away from what is familiar and comfortable for you. Right? Change can be difficult, and transition oftentimes comes with uncertainty and fear, right? And confusion. But growth usually requires moving forward, and moving forward usually requires leaving behind what can no longer support where you're going. Truthfully, can't step into a new chapter while holding on to the last one. It doesn't work that way. So as you move forward, give yourself not only the space to grow, but also permission to grow. Give yourself permission to change, and most importantly, give yourself permission to leave behind what no longer serves your beliefs, what no longer serves your values, what no longer serves your progression or your purpose or your peace. Because the new version of you and the new version of your life requires a new version of you. I'm going to say that one more time. Remember, give yourself permission to leave behind what no longer serves you, what no longer serves your purpose, and what no longer serves your peace, because the new version of your life requires the new version of you. Yes, indeed. Kings, thank you for joining me on this episode of Master Your Mindset, the 7 dimensions of mindset, where we covered outgrowing some stuff for our own benefit. And before I get up on out of here, you guys know what I need you to do. One time, I need you to check your vibe, because when your mind is bright, then you can vibe right. Yes, indeed. People, if this podcast has shifted your mindset or moved you to change your vibe, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with somebody that you love, somebody that you care about, or someone that you believe can vibe in a new way. Leave me a review, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at KingYesIndeed. Also, if you are interested in vibe coaching consultation, please email me at kingyesindeed@gmail.com. Let's find more personally tailored approach to your vibe. And yeah, I give one-on-one coaching. I can do group coaching through mind or vibe or mindset coaching classes. Until next time, people, check your vibe. Mind bright, vibe right. Yes, indeed.